Well, after the presidents of Harvard, Penn, and MIT embarrassed themselves in congressional testimony last week with evasive answers about students calling for the genocide of Jews, the fallout has been swift, and I would say thankfully. The Penn president resigned on Saturday, and pressure is mounting for the Harvard president, Claudine Gay, to do the same. But what led to this something that has been at work under the kind of festering on these college campuses for a long time? Did October 7th spark it, or did it simply expose it, this war in Gaza? Well, joining me now to discuss this is Ira Stoll, editor of futureofcapitalism.com and a graduate of Harvard University. For 4 years, he was managing editor of Harvard's Education Next, and he attributes anti-Semitism at Harvard as among the reasons he left the institution. He is also, I should say, the author of one of my favorite books on Samuel Adams, who was also a graduate of Harvard. Ira, welcome to Washington Watch.
A pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Before we discuss what you experienced at Harvard and answering this question, is this simply exposing or did it spark what we've seen happening across the country? Tell us your reaction first to congressional testimony from the presidents of these Ivy League institutions last week.
I thought the testimony at the hearing was quite disappointing. It was clear they'd been briefed ahead of time by lawyers, and they had these binders. They had a few sentences of talking points that they used to respond to virtually every question. And they didn't seem to respect the congressmen who were asking them the questions. They seemed almost annoyed to have to be there, as if they were more important than the Congress people.
Now, Ira, you've been writing about this recently, and you said, look, you can replace the president of, in particular in Harvard, but it's going to take more than that. So was what we've seen happening, what we've witnessed on college campuses across the United States, and I guess I'm going to focus on the United States, since the war in Gaza began, did that spark that anti-Semitism, or did it simply expose it?
Well, these campuses, particularly the so-called elite ones, have such a profound ideological tilt. And that was one of the things that the congressmen were asking the presidents about. They were asking about data about the ideological balance of the faculty members. And studies have shown that, maybe 1 to 5% or maybe 10% of the Harvard faculty or even students are conservative or Republican, and the rest are far left, progressive, liberal. You look at campaign contributions, you can survey them and ask them, and the students are the same way. And so it's just this far left atmosphere, and we've seen that spill over into harsh anti-Israel views, and to the point of sympathizing with the horrible terrorist attacks of October 7th. And it's been building for a long time. I think the students at these colleges are getting the bad ideas from the grown-ups, from the faculty members. And so the protests that broke out, or the statements, the absurd statements we saw after October 7th, blaming Israelis for their own basically murder and rape and beheading. The Harvard student organizations put out this statement that was all Israel's fault. And, there are professors, Harvard tenured professors, speaking at their rallies. And if you go to the events that the university is staging to try to put this in academic context, you're getting the same message about so-called settler colonialism, even though the Israelis, the Jews have been in that land, as your listeners and viewers know, since biblical times. It's just very disheartening and disappointing, and it's been building for a long time.
So Ira, how can our universities find their way forward on this topic? Is it hopeless? Is there going to be a course correction? What needs to be done?
Well, I'm a big believer in markets, and luckily, the United States has a fairly robust competitive market for higher education. So we've seen after October 7th a statement. There was a joint statement from Yeshiva University and Notre Dame saying, and Brandeis saying, we stand with Israel. And Hillsdale College had an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal saying, basically, Jewish families, your children are safe here. So I think people who care about this stuff may look elsewhere than the Ivy League. They may go to the South, to public colleges and universities. And also, there are constituencies applying pressure, alumni, Congress. Right. The faculty don't want any outside pressure. They don't want any grown-up supervision at all. But at some point, trustees and government are going to have to assert themselves, or we'll just see these trends continue.
Well, I hope. I think you're right. There's different levels. The first level, I think, is the free markets, and I think people should respond, because I think this is the tip of the iceberg of the ideological descent of higher education, and so we should go send our kids elsewhere. Ira, we're out of time, but always great to talk with you. Thanks so much for joining us today, and have a Merry Christmas.
Our pleasure. Happy Hanukkah to you.